This is Ag Matters PM from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, brought to you by the Iowa Soybean Association, your daily recap of the information that affects Iowa's farmers, producers, and consumers, right here in the heart of the heartland. With reports from our award-winning broadcast team of Dustin Hoffman, Riley Smith, and Mark Magnuson. Now, from the IARN studios in Des Moines, here's Riley Smith.
Hello and welcome into Ag Matters PM on the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. I'm Riley Smith. Today is Wednesday, November 27th of 2024. It is the day before Thanksgiving. Just a reminder, we will be taking the rest of the week off from Ag Matters PM. But we are very glad you can join us for today's show. In today's episode, I will be joined later on by Cory Bratland of agmarket.net for the markets. But to start off today's episode, I'm talking with Wen Carter of AMVAC. He's a marketing manager there. Had the chance to visit with him at Trade Talk during NAFB convention in Kansas City. I got an update on their herbicide and pesticide lineups, as well as some other projects that they have in the pipeline. Pretty successful crop year that we've seen so far. Before we get into the nitty-gritty of it, what have you heard about things in your area?
So I think it's been a successful year, certainly. So we're glad to have harvest behind us now and start planning for 2025. One of the things that we did kind of pick up on throughout the year, especially during harvest time, was some corn rootworm pressure and some potential lost yields due to that. So that's kind of where our head's at right now, and what we're trying to focus on is getting growers prepped and primed for 2025.
So looking at that corn rootworm situation, obviously it's one of those pests that can really just seemingly come out of nowhere. And there's a lot we don't know about corn rootworm still. First off, when we're coming to detecting that corn rootworm and finding it in the field, what are some tips to make sure that you're kind of getting ahead of that problem?
I think you've got to do that during the current year, right? So during the time you can do root digs, you can do counts, bud counts, larval counts, and try to see if it looks like you've had any root pruning or roots that have been impacted. As you get to harvest, you can notice that corn's not standing up tall, it's lodging, a little lean. That might mean your root system's been impacted by some corn rootworm or other seedling attacking pest damage. So you can do it throughout the year and at harvest, and then really to try to be prepared and prep yourself for the next season.
And we obviously know that Zalo is one of those things that can really help out on that corn rootworm pressure. Before we get into Zalo herbicide, first let's talk on just some of those things that on top of an herbicide application, or pesticide as well.
Yeah.
We'll get into Zalo as well, but on the pesticide things as well, just pest management with that corn rootworm. What are some of the things you can do on top of those treatments to make sure that you're not getting, kind of too comfortable with the enemy?
Yeah, certainly. So obviously, pick a good trait that's got some genetics bred in there to it. But then, what we offer, we have a couple of selections to help our growers as well. So we have Index, which is a liquid at-plant insecticide with 2 modes of action. So you're really hitting that corn rootworm with multiple modes of action to delay resistance. And if you do have a resistant population, having 2 modes of action helps overcome some of that as well. So we've got Index, which is an easy-to-use liquid formulation. But we also, that was new for 2024, we have BioWake Prime. BioWake Prime is part of our Green Solutions platform, and it's a bioinsecticide that's applied on the seed at planting. And the microbial colonizes the roots, and it activates the plant's defense mechanism and helps repel corn rootworm. So not only are we repelling the corn rootworm, but we're also promoting root growth. So if you do have any damage from corn rootworm, BioWake Prime is going to stimulate the growth of that root back to a healthy state. So we think we've got a great option that can be used together for growers, right? So that they're not getting too comfortable with just traits. They're hitting that pest from multiple different angles, with the biological and then with traditional chemistry with multiple modes of action.
And then I know I almost got myself mixed up there earlier talking on the Zalo side of things, but moving on to that Zalo herbicide and just some of the benefits that you guys are seeing from that, obviously a highly touted product. Tell us about what you've seen.
Yeah, certainly. So Zalo is new for us for 2024. Zalo is a soybean, cotton, and canola herbicide, and it's a combination of glufosinate and quizalofop. So what we're really seeing is if growers are using a glufosinate-based program and they're struggling to control some grass weeds, or if they're not able to get into the field timely and those grass weeds get a little bigger, Zalo is performing excellent on controlling annual grasses and some larger to control grasses if you weren't able to be at that 2 to 3 inch weed stage. One other thing for 2025 that we're preparing for and our growers are preparing for is dicamba will not be an option for our growers, our soybean growers in 2025. So Zalo is an excellent choice to replace dicamba with if you have a glufosinate tolerant soybean. So we're really trying to get our growers prepared and ahead of that. Choose your seed traits wisely because dicamba won't be an option. So if you need to switch to a Liberty Link bean, now's the time to do so. And then go ahead and plan for that herbicide program featuring Zalo.
And we know we've seen anyways, those weeds are starting to become dicamba resistant as well. You know, you mentioned earlier just the nature of using a product means they're going to start to resist it. So looking at the Zalo side of things, even if you're not questioning the dicamba situation, you know, still a good thing to consider anyways, that it might protect you more in the long run against those weeds as they develop those resistances.
Certainly, Riley. That's a great point. We know there's glyphosate resistance out there. We know there's auxin resistance out there. And Zalo is a great option to rotate chemistry to so that you can further delay that resistance. Just like we talked about with Index and BioWake Prime, utilizing multiple modes of action is a great way to keep efficacy in what you do have, right? More tools in the toolbox, the better.
All right, Wen, is there anything else when it comes to the crop science side of things that our viewers and listeners should know about today with AMVAC?
Yeah, certainly. We just really want the listeners, the growers, to be prepared, right? Be prepared. Now's the time to go ahead and get your plan in place for 2025. And we hope that we'll be a crucial part of that from our at-plant soil insecticides, Index or BioWake that we spoke about today, and then also from our herbicide program, Zalo. And if you're looking to complement Zalo, we have several products as well in Classic, First Rate, and Python that are also complementary herbicides that pair well with Zalo.
All right, and then if anyone wants to find more of that information from AMVAC, how can they do that?
Yeah, AMVAC.com is a great resource. You can go online, AMVAC.com, look up any of these products, and what you'll also be able to do is find your local field representative for AMVAC, give them a call, and they can point you in the right direction of who to get in touch with to purchase some of these products.
Thanks again to Wen Carter, Marketing Manager with AMVAC, for joining us on today's show. We'll go ahead and look at the closing markets, but first, here's a word from our sponsor, the Iowa Soybean Association and the Soy Checkoff.
Iowa Soybean Association is driven to deliver for Iowa's 40,000 soybean farmers. We're proud to provide objective agronomic research, a helping hand with soil and water stewardship, and timely industry news powered by the Soybean Checkoff. Learn more at iasoybeans.com.
It's time now for the Ag Matters PM Closing Market Summary, your source for market analysis and settlement prices from the day's trade in Chicago, courtesy of the folks at agmarket.net.
At the end of another trading day in the ag marketplace, we're here with Cory Bratland of agmarket.net. Cory, it's the day before Thanksgiving. What are we seeing going on in the grains?
Well, pretty typical, Riley. Holiday trade, very, very quiet trade. We had about a 7-cent range, about a 5-cent range in corn today. Soybeans only had probably 11, 12-cent range. So overall, just we did have an export sales announced of 132,000 metric ton of soybeans to China. So it's nice to see. We're continuing to see a little bit of demand, but corn market come under a little bit of pressure here yesterday and again today. Today is the last day to kind of get out of your December contracts. As first notice day will be Friday, and since we had no market here on Thursday due to Thanksgiving holiday. So we saw, December corn futures under a little bit of pressure here, just as guys were rolling out their longs out to, the March or maybe the May contract. So we saw the spreads really kind of put a little bit more of a carry back in after trading close to 7.5 cent carry was all from December to March. We saw that push out to about 11 cents here just today. So market really just searching for some new information to trade on in here, and we're just not much going on. Demand is still pretty steady. Weather seems to be pretty good down in South America. So here we are getting into the holiday season. I look for a pretty quiet trade to handle here over the next few weeks.
And then when we get to this Thanksgiving week in general, it's usually a pretty quiet time for the marketplace anyways, right?
Yeah, it is. Guys, like today, you might have a few traders taking the day off early. Probably going to take off Friday too. Friday, we have just a shortened trade from 8:30 till 12:05 Central Time. So it's going to could be a little erratic, but there shouldn't be a lot happening here in the near term.
And then, Cory, looking at the livestock side of things, how did cattle and hogs trade?
Live cattle had a really good week. Kind of hearing that the cash market might be creeping up. Haven't heard any trade yet this week, but the box beef and stuff kind of crept up to about $310. So that has been firm. We're 80, 90 cents higher here today on December cattle. There's many in the industry kind of thinking that we're kind of peaking out on the inventory here right now. So going into holiday season, we got a lot of demand here. So if cattle weights and the numbers start to drop, it it should support this market here in the near term. Now, one thing we want to keep a close eye on, though, is this economy, and how will the consumer will warrant some higher beef prices. Do they reject it here at the grocery stores, or if they continue to come after the beef? But exports have been really good. In the hog market, similar there. Exports have been real good. Cash was up pretty strong yesterday. Overall, though, I mean, they had a little bit of a pullback down 60, 70 points here today. But the hog market seems to be looking pretty strong here.
And we know that with the demand picture, and especially those prices when they get higher, normally we would expect to see maybe, beef demand shifting over to poultry demand or pork demand. But sometimes I think we've seen in the past as well that if the consumer doesn't want beef, they won't necessarily buy chicken. They just won't be buying beef, right?
Exactly. We can see them just they'll eat more at home. They won't go out to the restaurants. So they'll just tighten up their checkbooks a little bit. They'll get by with some cheaper options. So yeah, overall those demand is still staying pretty strong. So like I say, kind of have to keep an eye on the stock market and how the overall economy is doing here in the U.S.
All right, Cory, lots of great information today. For anyone who wants to get in touch with agmarket.net, how can they do that?
Yeah, a couple ways. You can head on over to our website at agmarket.net, or else give us a call at 844-424-6758.
Cory, thanks for the great analysis as always, and have a happy Thanksgiving.
You bet. Thanks, Riley. Happy Thanksgiving to you too.
That again was Cory Bratland of agmarket.net. We'll take a look at how the numbers close through the market window at iowaagnet.com. December corn is down 4 1/4 at 4.15 3/4. January soybeans up 5 1/4 at 9.88 3/4. December soybean meal up 2.40 at 2.90.50. Soybean oil down $1.84 at 40.75. Chicago wheat down 1 3/4 at 5.37 3/4. Kansas City hard red wheat down 24 1/4 at 5.26 1/4. Minneapolis spring wheat down 13 even at 5.64 1/2. December oats down 13 1/2 at 3.34 1/4. On the Merc, December live cattle up $1.10 at 1.88 even. January feeders up 67 cents at 258.77. December lean hogs down 70 cents at 82.40. Pork cutout went unchanged at 92.30. And December class 3 milk down 29 cents at 18.51. And that's been a check of the markets here on Ag Matters PM. That also brings us to the end of today's episode. You can find all of our content on our website at iowaagnet.com. Also follow us on social media at Facebook, X, LinkedIn, and TikTok, and find our video content as well as previous episodes of AMPM on our YouTube channel. Make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell to see when those videos go live. Don't forget as well our free morning, midday, and closing market podcast, as well as the Iowa Ag Matters podcast and Pods of Potential, which just yesterday released its 14th episode. Again, find those on your favorite podcasting service at Apple, Amazon, Spotify, and Podbean, or once again on our website at iowaagnet.com. From the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network studios in Des Moines, I'm Riley Smith. On behalf of Dustin Huffman, Andy Peterson, and Mark Magnuson, we thank you for watching. Have a happy Thanksgiving. We will see you again next week on Ag Matters PM.